Good morning, everyone. Sveiki visi lietuviai и вітаю всіх українців. Hello, everyone joining today. We are very proud to welcome you to Futurepreneurs for Ukraine 2023. My name is Roman Lobas, and I'll be your host for today. It is the 6th edition of our program. Before that, we've done it online, we've done it live, and currently we've combined all of the tips, tricks, knowledge we've had, and doing it as a combination, both online and live. We have our participants from Lithuania joining here today, and we have participants from Ukraine and all over the world joining us online. If you are here with us today, Futurepreneurs is a sustainability-driven pre-acceleration program that is organized by Sunrise Valley Science and Technology Park since 2017. Since then, we've already trained more than 700 people to make a positive impact on the world by starting impact-driven businesses. And this year, we turn on the hybrid mode, which allows us to connect participants, trainers, mentors, speakers, and different people and stakeholders in one room everywhere. Futurepreneurs edition is called Futurepreneurs for Ukraine, where we are trying to solve the biggest challenges that Ukraine is facing for the past years. And our entrepreneurs will be able to interact with people who face those problems daily and then devise solutions for them to actually be able to solve them. And we want to also thank the hosts and the partners for supporting us here today, because it wouldn't be possible without them. So first of all, the organizers are Sunrise Valley and Science and Technology Park, as well as our partners from Ukraine, Ukrainian Startup Fund. We have partners from the Netherlands, Thrive Institute, Pure Birds, and World Startup, as well as here, the organization that hosts us, it's Link Fabrikas in Vilnius Tech, as well as Rocket, the home of sustainable innovation as well. So not to keep you waiting any longer, I want to welcome a very special person to welcome you all to this program. This is the mastermind of Futurepreneurs and the CEO of Sunrise Valley Science and Technology Park, Laima Bačiūnė.
Thank you. Thank you, Romanas, for such a nice introduction. And I want to welcome everyone who came here today, and the majority is today with us online. And the biggest welcome, of course, is for those who are joining us from Ukraine. And you know, during the last year, when the year started, when Russia attacked a beautiful and peaceful country with a growing economy, with blooming startup ecosystem, we thought it will not last long. It will take a week or two. After that, well, month or two, but now it is almost a year. And during this year, Ukraine demonstrated how strong, how united, and how resilient it is. And we are sure that this year, Ukraine will celebrate its victory, that cities and infrastructure will be rebuilt, that talents will come back home, and of course, the economy, startups, entrepreneurs that create that economy is not less important, it's equally important. And we want to make our tiny contribution with this program and to dedicate the impact-driven entrepreneurship pre-accelerator for Ukraine. And as Roman said already, this pre-accelerator is about sustainability. It's about sustainable development goals identified by United Nations. And unfortunately, due to war, Ukraine and its people, they are facing each and every challenge there. Whether it is clean water, whether it is affordable energy, you name it, they have that problem. And I hope that Futurepreneurs, doesn't matter what they develop, everything will have an impact. And for the program, we have almost 100 registration. From Lithuania, Ukraine, Germany, Poland, Czech Republic, and other countries. And I hope that each and every of them will make their own contribution to a fast recovery. And Another aim of the program is to emphasize bright minds of Ukraine. So not only today we are going to have speakers live and online, and Roman is also Ukrainian. We are very happy to have him here, and we are going to have other speakers from Ukraine, and also workshops of the program mainly will be led by Ukrainian professionals. So taking this opportunity, I want to thank each and every who is contributing to the program, our speakers, our mentors, our lecturers, and of course organizations that Roman already mentioned. Thank you for being part of this, and especially thank you for Futurepreneurs that are creating the future for Ukraine. Thank you, and Slava Ukraini.
Laima, thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you, and it's really good that you started this program because we can all meet here today and make positive impact on Ukraine. Actually, as Laima mentioned, today we have plenty of different speakers to welcome you to the program and inspire you as well. And many of the speakers are, so all of the speakers actually are from Ukraine, but many of them are coming from different backgrounds and different countries even. We have some who came here live today, and we have some tuning in online. I want to introduce the first speaker today, Sviatoslav Svetnenko. And Sviatoslav is a business development and investment professional. He's a global shaper with World Economic Forum. He's a great entrepreneur and a co-founder and CEO of CyberNow 8, a company which is focusing on cybersecurity and helping entrepreneurs on their path of creating a safer digital world. Sviatoslav will share today online because he wasn't able to come in person, but he's very excited to tell you more. And ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Hello everyone, really happy to speak to you today from Kiev, and congratulations to organizers of the Futurepreneurs program in this time in Ukraine. It is especially important to first provide as much as possible information on what's going on in Ukraine, and secondly, of course, via different impact projects to assist Ukraine in current situation and potentially in reconstruction efforts. I'll tell a couple of words in terms of what's going on right now in the ecosystem in Ukraine and Kyiv specifically, and then we'll outline some of the directions where you can build startups, again making impact for Ukraine, but also testing solutions and scaling it to potentially unicorns and unicorns in future. So I'll start from now. What we see now in Ukraine is that the level of resistance and resilience of people is tremendous, and even though we have the war going on, even though we have on a constant basis rockets flying over our heads, we see many startups and entrepreneurs trying to basically work two shifts, right? The daily shift, the ordinary work, startups, business, and so on, and let's call it night shift, when they volunteer, try to help the army or build different solutions, products, and services to address some of the needs and challenges that we have in the country. In terms of the ecosystem before the war, I have some statistics for you. We had calculated about 4,000 technology companies in Ukraine. Out of them, about 1,700 were startups on different stages. That can be early stages, new companies built by Ukrainians and international co-founders, and also late-stage startups that are prominent and that we are all proud of in Ukraine. That includes, for instance, the company called Grammarly, that you all probably heard of or know or even use. That's the company that assists you to write better English. That also includes companies like Preply that helps with education, People AI that automates with artificial intelligence sales processes, and many more that we see in flourishing Ukrainian ecosystem. Unfortunately, when the war started, basically not the war, but another invasion, now it's much more serious than it used to be 8 years ago, we see that the ecosystem had, of course, many negative effects because of this, and many negative consequences. We see quite a lot of displaced people in Ukraine from different estimates. That's millions, 8 million, 8.5 million since the start of the war. Of course, many of them went back to their places of origin, but unfortunately, not all of them have this opportunity because their cities may be temporarily occupied or even destroyed. We also have a lot of refugees, people, Ukrainians who left the country and currently reside in Lithuania, in Baltics, in Nordic states, all across the globe basically. And we again are very thankful to our partners in different countries who support them, providing shelter, sharing their houses with them, and of course supporting in different matters of personal and professional life. Another consequence is that, of course, given the full-scale invasion and constant rocket shelling, we have outages of electricity, and we have, specifically in Kyiv, just the last year we had, I guess the total number was 630 hours of sirens, which basically disrupted our life on a constant basis. But that's also, in a way, an opportunity to look for solutions and tools that can help us to cope with that problem and potentially boost productivity via different solutions that you guys can create over the next couple of weeks jointly with mentors and the program organizers. So now I'll share with you 6 domains that I see as potential domains for you to work with, build on solutions to help in addressing some of the challenges that Ukraine currently experiences, but also building some foundations for the future reconstruction of Ukraine. So first of all, I will start from one of the most pressing needs, that's cybersecurity in Ukraine, especially given my background. And we just need to understand that Ukraine is currently second to US in the number of attacks. And the number of attacks grew just 3 times in 1 year of 2022. So that's one of the most pressing issues that we unfortunately experience. And of course, we need more bright minds working on different solutions, both on B2B, B2G, and of course B2C to help us cope with that and complement our expertise that we built here on our side. Second domain, similar, is all about digital solutions, and I would even focus to different vulnerable groups that we have. That's internally displaced people, that's refugees, that's veterans, and so on and so forth. Those people millions of people who unfortunately faced some of the negative consequences of the war and now trying to live a new reality. And of course, via solutions, via startups, we can help them to live a better life, easier life, maybe reintegrate into societies, maybe have more services and tools in their places of residence at the moment. Then moving on to energy, and probably linked to climate in general, but of course, as you know, we have energy security as one of the challenges we work with as a country, as a government, as many people living here. And we need solutions to help focusing on making consumption less, focusing on renewables, and also on a number of climate solutions that will help, again, maybe more in long term, but rebuild Ukraine as a country that can show its contribution to sustainable goals and to sustainability in general. Next domain that I would highlight is agri and food. Again, as probably many of you heard, we have supply chains disrupted, and for many farms or agricultural holdings in Ukraine, basically logistics eats most of their profits, and of course they need more innovation, more innovative solutions that they can leverage and use to become more efficient and generate profits, because that's critical. They generate profits, they pay taxes, and we have this economic growth as well in this sector, which is one of the main sectors of Ukraine's economy. And next one is health. Maybe even I would focus, given we are speaking about digital solutions, about mental health. Different research shows that about 1 in 4 Ukrainians will experience some or will need some support on this area, so to say. And of course, we see issues like depression. We see many issues with people who experienced trauma or who fought in the army. That's a huge number of people that can be, again, targeted with innovative approaches and solutions to increase the overall quality of mental health on our side in Ukraine. And finally, one of the topics that I would strongly recommend you to consider, that's all about the future of work. Because when you look at different speeches from Microsoft or Facebook or Meta and different other technology giants, they all speak about increasing productivity and building new solutions, be it Metaverse or Microsoft Teams or ChatGPT to increase the productivity. But Ukraine is probably one of the best places to pilot and test those technologies, because we work asynchronously, we hire and onboard people fully virtually, we work from different time zones because many of our employees are in different countries. And of course, when we look at the number of, let's say, disruptions to life, air sirens or electricity outages, that's all that we will need to address when we speak about remote first work. So future of work is another topic that I would like you to have on your minds and consider to work on. But nevertheless, they're just 6 topics that I see relevant, and of course we can, or you can actually do much more and have a wider focus. Finally, I would like to wish you all luck and thank you for coming to the program, because this is what we need. We need help, we need international partners, we need novel solutions to cope with the war that we have, to cope with its consequences, to help people, enterprises, governments to work better and to eventually work on reconstruction of Ukraine towards a more prosperous, better, more innovative country within European family. And my last message to you would be is that once you develop something to test and pilot in Ukraine, of course the next step is to try to scale it into international markets. And from what we hear from different investors and partners, once the technology or a startup is tested or piloted in Ukraine in some of the most pressing conditions out there, after this kind of crash test, you can easily scale the solutions to other easier markets. So I wish you luck and have a nice day today.
Thank you so much, Svetoslav. It was wonderful for you to join us. And while being in Kyiv and sharing the problems and challenges that Ukraine is facing, actually all of these are universally applicable. And as he mentioned, any of you that decide to tackle one of these, you have potential not just supporting Ukraine, but also building a scalable business that will be valuable everywhere. Thank you so much, Svetoslav. And one thing I want to tell you is actually you have a chance to engage. So whether you're tuning in online or whether you are in person here, you can actually use slido.com, which is an app where you can ask questions to the speakers. And whenever the next speaker comes in, you'll be able to do that by typing in FTPR 2023. So feel free to do that and engage with the speakers. They have very valuable insights to share, and you'll be able to hear more about what you're interested in. And now is the time for our second speaker of today. And it is Olena Skirta that is coming here from another country, actually, from Ukraine, and made her way from Kyiv just yesterday. So she's here representing In Science, a women-led non-governmental organization that promotes science and makes sure it's applicable to the real world, makes it practical, and helps entrepreneurs use it. Olena will share more about the deep tech and science ecosystem in Ukraine and how it will support Ukraine's recovery. Olena, the stage is yours.
One more time. Hi, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Olena Skirta. I'm happy to be here, and I will start that with thank you to the organizers, because it's really impactful to have such programs for Ukrainian businesses. And that's, as for me, that inspires me a lot. I will give a speech about deep tech and science for Ukraine's recovery. And actually, this is the picture from one of the video about women in science, Katerina Shovanova. I will tell you more about that. But that was the real challenge, to continue to sow the fields after their active battles on Ukrainian territories. My speech, and I will tell a little bit more about in science. I'm partner of women-led non-governmental organization in science. We work now in Ukraine and from Kyiv mostly for Ukrainians now, because we see a lot of challenges for Ukrainians, and we want to help with the science and scientists for Ukrainians. And what we do, we promote science and increase its value for the society. Here is my contacts. I'm open. You can write me any messenger or email. And you can also ask the questions after their speech. Really welcome. To tell you more about in science and what we do, I want to start with that. We stopped all our work on the 24th of February to reinvent and recreate what NGO in science can do for Ukraine and for Ukrainians to help them in the most effective way. And we came up with few new projects. Their first was we continued to do a documentary video about women in science, and but it became the video about women in science during war, and our heroines are head of R&D of agriculture company Colonel Katerina Shovanova and radiobiologist Olena Perenyuk, who is a researcher and really great expert of nuclear threat, and she researches Chernobyl and Fukushima, and now she is in Japan, continue to do her research. And it is actually online, you can check it. There will be a QR code a few slides later. We developed a new online platform, Take Care of Yourself. It's for Ukrainians to actually, it's evidence-based platform for advice, for health advice for everyone. You can share, you can read it, share it. It's for many of the topics that Ukrainians cope with now, like mental health, physical health, vaccination, and so on. The main goal is to encourage Ukrainians take care of their physical and mental health. That is also important during the big war. And also we reinvented the program for Ukrainian children who were displaced or left Ukraine, and they came to new, actually, culture context, and we helped them with the community and with the program where they could meet like-minded children who also like science, and this is like science popular projects, but this really supports them, and we have lots of feedback from their parents that works. And also we have challenges with main education in Ukraine because it's online, and many of the territories were occupied and then de-occupied, and they don't have computers as a result of Russian invasion, and that's why also such projects could help, because they continue their education. And also, despite of the war, we relaunched the biggest science popular conference in Ukraine, and this will be in the end of spring in Kyiv. It's actually the most beautiful time for visiting Kyiv, so I really recommend you coming this year or upcoming years. We are waiting for you. The main goal is to keep promoting Ukrainian science in European media, to build the relations with partners from universities, institutions, different funds, to continue to support for Ukrainian science and to actually give more voices to Ukrainian scientists. And I would start my story with that is emotional, sorry for me, with the story of Bijan Sharapov. He used to be a scientist, biologist, and friend, and soldier. Bijan was killed in April, and these days, we actually received the confirmation that he was killed in April. We received the confirmation of the DNA, and that's why I wanted to start my story with the story of Bijan, with sharing of his story, because he was the one who also opened the science lab, who worked with businesses, and actually I could tell his story during this speech, because he was really incredible scientist. And there is the saying that during the war, people become numbers, and that is really the biggest. That is not the biggest threat, but that is really a threat, because I don't want people like Bijan become numbers, because these are incredible people, and I'm staying here, and we can keep working, we can keep planning, keep working on Ukraine's recovery, because people like Bijan worked for that and gave unfortunately his life for that. I would ask you for, I think, 10 seconds of silence, because I have no words for describe this. Thank you. I would share two stories of Ukrainian scientists and companies who are working on Ukraine's recovery actually during the Russian invasion, and I think that will be also helpful after the victory. One of our heroines from the video Women in Science, Olena Pernyuk, said that during the COVID, we understood, during the pandemic, we understood the value of doctors. During the big war, we understood the value of the army, and maybe now there is the time when we understand the value of scientists. And the first story will be about Katerina Shavanova. She is head of R&D in the agro company Kernel. This is one of the biggest agro companies, and they obviously faced the problem with how to continue their work in spring. And I asked Katya what will they do, and she answered like, we will keep working, and there is, I will share her quote from the film. She says, like, it's ordinary spring. The tractor is riding. Nuclear apocalypse. The tractor is riding. War, tornado. The tractor is riding. Agriculture depends on the weather a lot, but we saw even during the war. And that is really that was the answer for these companies. They have R&D department, they do lots of researches, but when they had the opportunity during spring, on their fields there was still lots of mines. They just started to sow, and during summer they were trying to send the food. But the world actually faced the world food crisis this summer, and we understood that when the Ukrainian scientists are working on more resilient plant or on how to, in the most effective way, demine the territories. This scientists work not only for Ukraine, they work for the whole world and for the world's good. And that could be also one of the idea for the project. The big challenge that Ukraine has now for the demining territories. According to the estimation, we could demine territories from 5 to 10 years. It's really a lot, and maybe you could come up with new solutions with that. And this is estimation if the war will start, if the war stops now, but war doesn't stop now. So we will need new solutions how to demine the territories with drones, with maybe something else. And here is the QR code for video. You can check this. There are English subtitles, and they are really inspiring. And the second story will be about two neurobiologists who have their private lab, and also during the big war, one of the partners, Viktor Komarenko, came to volunteered to army, and the other parties started to work on new startup. Its name is Anima. The problem is that military psychologists on the front lack fast, accurate, and easy to use methods to determine emotional states of soldiers. So many people think that the manager of the soldier should cope with the PTSD, depression, and so on. But that is not the best way to cope with the problem. And Sergey and Victor are working on this startup, and actually you could work on more solutions how to cope with mental problems, because this is a really big challenge. Svetoslav said in the previous speech, Svetoslav shared the possible topics for the startups. There could be more, but I totally agree with agriculture and health, and my stories are about that. And this startup just works with finding the problem on the early stage, and they are already work in Ukrainian army, as Victor is in army, and Sergey is doing the startup. I would like to mention what do we need now to, and what you can do now to boost the science and deep tech. It's actually the acceleration programs for deep tech businesses, and as you are young entrepreneurs, you can collaborate with scientists and build businesses together, work with scientists with their ideas. Actually, it's a long-term long time for scientists to do the research, but if they already have the research, you can work with them, you can work with their ideas that they already worked on for some time. And we as in science have a big database of Ukrainian scientists who are in Ukraine or who are not in Ukraine, but they are open to collaborate, and you can ask us, you can ask me actually. There were my contacts, and I can share it one more time at the end. And we are open to find you the best match for the projects. And actually, I would like to mention that if you can, you could build more programs for Ukrainian scientists who stay in Ukraine, because there are a lot of programs for Ukrainian scientists for abroad, and as a result, lots of their scientists who could go abroad, they went to Japan, South Korea, USA, Canada, Europe, and that is good, and we really appreciate the support, but also that could be also the challenge to after the victory, will this for the scientists coming back. And but the answer could be also to build the programs like this online, so that Ukrainian scientists could join online from Ukraine. And also, not everyone can go according to the law, and just they could not want to go because of their families and want to stay in Ukraine. And I would like to finish with that. We, as in science, will join the initiative for building school and science classes. For us, it's really valuable because there are challenges with education, and the first challenge is that on some territories we have damaged schools or damaged classes, or there are no bomb shelters. There is the photo of Lyceum in Zhytomyr, which was on the territory, and our heroine Olena Porenyuk from a video about women in science is originally from Zhytomyr. We will join this initiative and will give some of their part of the money from the tickets from the conference for building classes and for building school and science classes, and will also join. And these classes will be in the shelters. And Svetoslav said that there are lots of air sirens, and you could build the projects in that. Not in the topic, but knowing that lots of people, lots of children work from shelters, are learning from shelters, and just the message from me: when you are building the projects, you could emphasize with the audience and ask yourself, how can we help, and in the most effective way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elena.
Thank you.
Actually, there is quite a few questions from the audience.
So, thank you.
It was really beautiful to hear your story and also stories of your colleagues and friends. We are wondering, how can people in the audience or organizations listening now help individual scientists in Ukraine? Is it to collaborate with them? Is it to invest in them? Is it to...
That is actually a good question. Thank you for that. It depends on the person. Yeah, you could collaborate with scientists, and you also can ask me if you want to collaborate with some scientists in different topics, because we have like base of them. But also, who is asking? Is it entrepreneur or is it? Because it depends on what a person wants and
For me, it says anonymous, and I don't know if it's the group of hackers anonymous or if it's
I think it's a group of hackers, but there is no one answer for everyone, but there could be answer to collaborate, to build programs, and if you are building the program, I think it's better to do it for scientists who are staying in Ukraine, because about 50% of scientists are staying in Ukraine, and mostly all of the programs are for scientists who went abroad to different countries.
Great. So online programs, online collaboration, and things like that. Great.
I wanted to share the contacts.
Please connect, and if you have ideas of how to collaborate, I think Olena will be able to help here.
That is all.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And deep tech is a topic that's difficult to comprehend, difficult to implement. However, right now there is so many opportunities to actually do those projects, get funding, and collaborate with wonderful people in Ukraine. So that's fantastic. And actually, we are moving on to another guest. We have Svetlana Hristenko, who will be joining us today. She actually came from Hague in the Netherlands, and she supports startups and entrepreneurs on a daily basis. She works for World Startup, which is an organization that helps them develop their ideas and get to a next level in business. And please, Svetlana, welcome.
Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today, not only because I truly believe in young entrepreneurs, futurepreneurs, but also because I think we should all take any possibility that we have to support Ukraine in any means that we can. And today, I hope that we all are here gathered to support Ukraine in entrepreneurship and innovation, but there are many other ways that you can do it, obviously, and don't be shy, and just do your best in any means you can. And that's what I'm also trying to do. So today's topic of my presentation is rebuilding Ukraine by supporting startups. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about startup ecosystem in Ukraine, about things that Ukraine should be known for. And I will tell you about tangible things that we all can do today, thoughts that we can keep in mind, and the spirit to have. Once again, my name is Svetlana Hristenko. I'm Innovation Program Manager and Service Designer at World Startup. World Startup is a platform for change makers, for innovators, and basically anyone in the world who wants to bring positive change into this world. And we have skills, tools, networking, and methods to accelerate that. I live in The Hague, and that's a little arrow, little country, of course. I think the most important thing is not where I live and not what I do, but actually that I'm Ukrainian and really proudly saying so. I was born in Kharkiv, and there's my home behind the church, and that is a tram that I used to take to go to the city center that I'm not going to be taking anymore. And unfortunately, this is how you all seen Ukraine for the past almost a year. And I do believe that no city, no village, no country in the world should be known for this. And it's a shame that you all started recognizing Ukraine and knowing it because of this. I do believe that Ukraine has a lot to offer and be known for this, for example. I do believe that Ukraine is a great IT hub for innovation. We have several cities, so innovation doesn't happen only in the Kyiv. But we have innovation hubs in Lviv, we have in Odessa, in my hometown Kharkiv, in Dnipro, and also Mariupol, by the way. There was a surprise for me to get to know that there's as well used to be a really thriving startup ecosystem. I do believe that startup ecosystem in Ukraine is really strong in a way that the war is going on and it's still thriving. Startups still keep producing innovation. They still keep working abroad and internally, And as Svetoslav also mentioned before, and I also have it in my presentation, I'm really proud of those unicorns and those startups that were born in Ukraine. And yeah, that's something that we should be really proud of. Another thing to be proud of is our innovation hub in Kyiv, Unit City, and this is not only one hub, as I mentioned before, there are many others, many places where people could innovate, could grow, and could really bring positive change to this world. The last example is personally something that I use, our e-government app, DIA, something that even Estonian government takes as example for their e-government app. That's really amazing for me to really say that, yeah, I'm proud of our Ministry of Digitalization. I'm proud of our government that does these steps, these really important steps in order to support innovation. There's many other examples and things to be proud of, and this whole presentation is not based on this, but I just want you all to be inspired and know that Ukraine is a land of opportunity. There's a lot of bright minds, a lot of talented people, and the statistics, an interesting fact that I recently learned is that 3% of all developers in Ukraine right now changed their cozy chairs and laptops, and they joined Armed Forces of Ukraine. And I think it's up to us all together to make sure that their struggle is not in vain, that when they come back, when those men and women come back from war, they have something to look forward to. They will have new possibilities and a new environment to grow. So the question of today is, what can we do to support innovation in Ukraine? And one of the answers is create a healthy environment for startup development. And the obvious question, of course, is what is a healthy environment? The healthy environment for startup ecosystem is a complex thing that consists of several elements. I'll start with the right mindset, and by that I mean that people should be ready for innovation. And by that, I mean that they should not be afraid to fail, because innovation is a steep process. It doesn't happen overnight, and it takes a lot of courage, a lot of trying, a lot of errors to go through it and push for it. But at the end, of course, it leads to a brighter future. Talent enhancement is something that I can proudly say that we do at World Startup, and that's something that I believe not only accelerators, not only incubators should do, but also the government and also private companies that can support startups with the knowledge, with the skills and tool sets for them to grow. Co-creation as a base for innovation. I do believe that we should completely abandon the top-down approach. I think we should forget about it and really believe that innovation happens only in the place where there are people from different backgrounds, people from different areas with different experiences coming together and creating something beautiful. And the more diverse the audience, the public is, and the people in the room, I think the better the chances are of innovation. Moving on to access to capital, and that's a tricky one because obviously all young startups, and not only young startups, always struggle with this. And I do believe that there should be programs from the government as well as private companies to accelerate the early stage startups, to give them possibilities, financial, intellectual, to grow and to develop. And the last one is to be internationally oriented. I do believe that if you do something great locally, if you solve a problem, if you dedicate to a better future, you shouldn't be only limited by your place where you are. You should be really internationally oriented. And if you can solve the problem here, they will be really amazing and great for the whole planet if you can solve it somewhere else. So these are just a couple of basic aspects of the healthy environment. And yeah, of course, these are big words and big ambitions, and this is really future-oriented. But there are some things that we can do already today and that we are doing already today, and I just wanted to mention to you a couple of them. Starting at things that we do at World Startup, and starting with supporting startups by providing them different knowledge, skill sessions, business development on the European markets, helping them to expand from Ukraine, but also from around the world to European markets through the Netherlands, as an example. Providing them support in funding, providing them opportunities to meet the right people at the right place, to also develop their skills. So, for example, if they need to explore their target group or get some knowledge about how to build a professional team. These skills are widely available, and that's something that I'm personally really passionate about. Providing them with startup visa support, that's something I of course encourage all Ukrainian startups to stay in Ukraine and innovate there. But if there's a chance that they can learn from other markets, from other places, and then bring that innovation to Ukraine, I think that's a really great opportunity. And the last one is building innovation hubs, and that's something that I would like to stay and look into a little bit closer. Because that's something that we now mostly focus on. So innovation hubs is like a really like a body, I would call it. It's a body with little organisms, and of course the main organisms are the main stakeholders who start innovation hub. So they can be, for example, the government, it can be some private companies, accelerators, universities, so things like that. And what they do is that they bring the valuable knowledge, the valuable connections, very important experience and funding. And why they do this all together is because I do believe that co-creation and creating value together is much easier than trying to do it on your own. So the idea of Innovation Hub is very simple. You just create a platform, it can be online or offline, for innovation. You collect the needed knowledge, you connect the people, the network, and by doing that, you search for innovators, or they find you. And what innovators bring to the table is, of course, their brilliant ideas, is, of course, their talents and their passion. And altogether, once you combine these elements, you get amazing results, truly. You get, importantly, acceleration. You provide startups with the markets, you provide them with opportunities, with funding, and this is overall a really great, I believe it's a great collaboration for both the stakeholders who want to bring innovation in certain sector and the startups with their great ideas. Moving on to obstacles on the way of innovation. Obviously, it's not that easy to innovate, and there are very obvious obstacles, like, for example, orientation of not the furthest future, but the close by, or the obstacle of not having enough of resources. But here I wanted to actually mention the obstacles Ukraine related. So I identified for you three areas: political, economical, and cultural. And starting with political obstacles, of course, corruption is still there. And I think that's something that you shouldn't be afraid of. That's something that you should be aware of and work towards coming over this. Outdated legal frameworks for businesses and investments. I know it used to be really difficult for Ukrainians to open their companies, to start their business. It's getting much better, I know for sure. And one of the examples that I gave you before, this application DIA, they work really well for making this better. But it is still there, and it's something that you should just embrace. Going on into economical obstacles, yeah, war, it's not a surprise, it's still there, and it's a really unfortunate force to lower down the speed of innovation of Ukraine. Something to mention that is also related is a lack of investment, and one of the reasons, of course, is the war, but another one is possible global economic recession. I believe that Ukraine should really show the world how attractive it is for investment. And obviously right now we're at war and it's really difficult to do so, but we should already work towards the future plans, the future ambitions, and the future possibilities for innovation and making Ukraine a greater place. Moving on to the last one, of course, uncertainty is a very big obstacle, and it's obstacle not only for internal innovation, but also external funding and external companies that would like to do business with Ukraine. And yeah, I do understand that it is really difficult to predict tomorrow, especially when your country is at war. But you do have to really take this risk and believe in the future, believe in innovation, and believe in collaboration. I do believe that one of the biggest issues working with Ukraine is traumatized society. It is difficult to innovate, it is difficult to accelerate when you have to care about whether you will have food on the table tomorrow or whether you will have a roof on top of your head tomorrow. Obviously, in order to innovate, you have to make sure that all your basic needs are covered and that you don't have to be afraid of those basic needs. You can already think greater, think bigger and more ambitious. So yeah, it is definitely will be, I think, one of the main obstacles right now and in the future after the war ends. And the last one is cultural differences. That's an interesting one because I work already for more than 6 years in the Netherlands, and I definitely can say that working culture there is very different from working culture in Ukraine. I don't say that one is better and one is worse. It is different. And that's something that you should just embrace and adapt. And I do believe that Ukrainians are really great at adapting and really great at resilience. And that's really something that throughout the war, the whole Ukraine shown that we are really strong and really can overcome certain obstacles on the way in order to reach the goals that we need. The future. I do believe that the future is bright. As I mentioned before, there are already so many primary factors for it to be bright for Ukraine. The only one thing that it depends is when it will become bright. Well, that's a question of when the war will end, and that's something that no one knows. But something that we know now is that we should not wait until it ends. We should act now. We should act yesterday, actually, to be fair. And just stay positive. And I bet that Ukraine already proven to be a really a great example of resilience and positive change. And I do believe that more changes and more innovation will come there soon. Thank you, everyone, and Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation and inspiring us all, as well as understanding the situation. People are wondering, how can you describe the current ecosystem in the startups in Ukraine right now, and how hard is it for those startups to scale internationally?
Well, as also Sviatoslav mentioned, it is really difficult right now. I am personally not working there in Ukraine, and it's difficult for me to assess that. But I can definitely answer the second part, is how they can access the foreign support and that. I do believe that actually the governments and the bigger companies in Ukraine should promote Ukraine abroad. I think that it's really difficult for just beginner startups, especially when you're in early stage, to really grow. It's really probably the hardest stage in startups to grow from your to validate your problem to get your first clients. And I do believe that it's difficult for them, but the bigger ecosystem, the bigger companies, and also government included, accelerators like Sunrise Valley and World Startup and many others, they are here to help. And they should be really looking towards those, not unicorns. I really hate that saying, and I really don't think that's something that we should be focused on, but they should be looking for those startups that actually, or the entrepreneurs that actually bring impact, that have great ideas and have the greater vision. So,
do you hear me?
Yeah? Yes. Who was that? No, but actually, I think there should be just more links created by higher enterprises and the government to support startups.
Really great insights. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
You know, Svetlana mentioned many sort of obstacles and how difficult the situation is right now in Ukraine, but also we can see how it's changing from everywhere. And there is funds like, and organizations like Svetlana's and Olena's and others that are actually focusing on positive impact.
One channel, shall I turn on?
Oops. Yes. So next speaker wants to join, and that's fantastic. And he will actually share more about the same story and tell you more insights from the ground as well. So I want to also welcome Volodymyr Bandura, and he will tell you more about how global entrepreneurship platform. How his startup Albionics.ai, a company that produces artificial intelligence-inspired automated manufacturing for prosthetic devices, supports the current situation, and what Albionics does and how he, as an entrepreneur, makes a very positive impact on the current situation.
You see me?
So please, Volodymyr, he's joining online, and you will see him right now. Perfect. Take it away.
Okay, do you hear me? Okay, good. So, it's almost 1 year since the beginning of the invasion. So we had a lot of time for work, for strife, and to make conclusions. So, and some of these, let's say, stages, elements, I will tell you, and to what we are coming and how we can move from survival to prosperity. So a year ago, I did a very interesting event, which was for SEO Club Ukraine, probably the most important business, let's say, organization in Ukraine. For the owners of big business, we did this entirely in virtual reality. So it was a very nice event, but just 2 days later, we had another virtual reality event which nobody could believe. These were rockets and tanks and bombs all firing on Kiev and on other major cities. So we turned from a normal life to a full-scale war within days and hours. And as you remember, everybody was pretty pessimistic on the outcomes. Times and times, Western allies said that Kiev will fall within days, within hours, within weeks, whatever. And this was kind of consensus between the Western allies and the Russian. So, and I remember very well on the first day, I got a call from my friends saying that Zelensky will be killed tonight. It was exactly on the first day. As you remember, the operation was moving like they did before in European countries. There are some paratroopers and special forces or insurgents invading the city, capturing, let's say, the state authorities and installing their rule, which was actually the idea of this all this military operation. My friend lives next to Hostomel, so for days he just watched with his own eyes how dozens of helicopters with paratroopers tried to invade it, but they were all destroyed, so it was a major failure. And later, the situation was pretty grim. Russian troops were entering from some directions Kiev. There were numerous fights with insurgents inside the city. And the columns which were approaching Kiev were kilometers and kilometers long. One was like 60 kilometers long. So, and it consisted of hundreds of armored vehicles and thousands of troops. But it all failed. Okay, and it all failed, first of all, because of very smart and brave fight from the army, which especially the aerodrones departments, which we supported a lot from even the territorial defense, everybody was fighting, So it was a huge moment of solidarity. And some details impressing this fight. I remember that one of my friends and the owner of big producer of sustenance for children, like products for children. She used her line to produce thousands of Molotov cocktails. They just loaded these Molotov cocktails on trucks and supplied it directly to the front line. And Russia failed. They suffered a major defeat and they retreated. After that, we saw many other important victories. Very beautifully orchestrated Kharkiv operation, which liberated within weeks thousands of kilometers or square kilometers of our territory. Recent setback in Kherson. They lost the only regional center which they occupied. And with this, all this, I would say, the rhetoric of the many so-called real politics and so on in the West substantially changed, or better to say Putin's agents. That from the idea that it is crazy to think that Russian army can be defeated, we clearly see that this is the only option. It can be done and it shall be done. And one of the important reasons is because every time we discover or we recapture the territories from Russian invasion, we can see a lot of torture rooms, a lot of mass graves, a lot of civilians, even children killed. And this must be stopped. We cannot settle on some middle ground and leave it just to continue. We need to liberate the territories and we need to stop this terror. And to remind that it didn't start and it doesn't even continue as purely some conflict of Russia and Ukraine. It was the Russian attempt to change the geopolitics, to threaten NATO countries and so on. And I think Baltic countries understand it better than anybody else. And we see it every day. So this is the major challenge that needs to be solved, because this is the lesson. As you remember, even the dates are the same, 1914 and 2014, the start of 100 years later, but the start of another major war, which can be well considered, even as it occurs on a limited territory, the World War, the fight of different powers. And the way we solve this situation will be the determination factor for all the century. I think everybody understands this. If we solve it right, we will have beautiful and peaceful century. If not, it will be probably even worse than the 20th one. And also I want to say that, some strange definitions still surface in the Western media, like conflict in Ukraine. There is no conflict in Ukraine. Ukraine is united as it was never before. But this Russian aggression, this is what causes the economic problems, the inflation, the challenges due to energy, and so on and so forth. It shall be clearly understood. So the reason why we can win and why we are winning is because unbelievable solidarity of Ukrainian people and unbelievable support from all the countries which respect international laws and from all the people who respect justice and who understand what is happening. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank to Lithuanian people and to Baltic countries for your great support in political terms and from really all the people of these countries. To see how a small country can collect within hours like millions of euros to support the important needs of the army. It's just great. So as an entrepreneur, I can tell you I survived. I didn't fire any people from my teams, even hired some, and even started a totally new project because we saw the problem with prosthetics. First, I tried to cooperate with international producers, but saw that really to solve this problem, we need to do it in-house. So we created our own company, our own bionic prosthetics, which we plan to already like do some first steps with the users and plan to supply to them in the coming months. This is the design of it. We have a nice set of partners, and we are developing actively this project. So in the new world, where you have the huge growth of new incredible tools, which also we actively use, like new large language models, where GPT-3 reached 100 million users as a research tool faster than TikTok. We have new opportunities, and we can really transform the economy of the country. And we probably wouldn't even do it on such a massive scale, but we are forced to do it. I can tell you personally, I do now projects in a totally new way. If you see on my website, my closest partner, the person with whom we established already 2 companies and in different countries and work every day, I never even met Steven live, because he stays in the United States and we are partners, but we never met live. So it's a new world, and new opportunities. You can do business the way you never thought is possible. And the challenges which Ukrainian entrepreneurs faced during all the previous year and now are just immense. I lived through quite a number of all types of crises, like financial crises, even the previous war since 2014. It's nothing to compare, okay? This full-scale war is just, you read the terrible news about the inflation in Europe or in the United States is like a relaxation reading. I mean, because here in this photo, you can see the photo of the warehouse of my good friends, like who own the best luxury supermarket in Ukraine called Good Wine. It was entirely destroyed. They lost goods for $12 million only in this warehouse. So they created the collection of wines which survived the rocket hit because they collected some. They sold it separately. Blackouts, like total destruction of logistics, evaporation of the whole markets because people, as you can see, as you can imagine, entirely changed their habits. Kiev for days stayed without power. People had electricity for a couple of hours a day, and you can imagine it's a challenge if somebody is living on the 22nd floor in a nice apartment. When you don't have electricity, you need to walk there. So metro is not working, and basically none of the infrastructure of the city. It's just amazing, how you need to survive in these conditions in winter. So every business needs some local generator and so on. So even the energy system transforms. So mobilization of personnel, daily alerts. We had meetings when people had to leave to shelters right from the meeting. And in these conditions, every businessman, they support the army. Many of business owners volunteered. My friends went to fight in the front lines, so we support them as well. So it's a very, very challenging environment. But at the same time, we can see the, let's say, the contours of the new Ukraine, huge international support. And I put here a pressure, and it's a good type of pressure. It's not like to dump the sovereignty of the state, but it's to eliminate the corruption. I, for example, fully support it. I can tell you that the influence of oligarchs diminished in many aspects, even because the old economy took a hit in the first place, because it needs very good logistics. And you could see like the physical destruction of many key assets in metal industry. Not a good thing to do, you know, but it also changes the economy. We don't have other choice but to move to a more decentralized digital creative economy. And IT industry, despite the immense difficulties, you can't imagine how it is, because my friends, they run like big companies, and you can imagine how challenging it is to relocate thousands of people to different cities, to different countries, keeping the operations online, keeping the projects on schedule, to face blackouts, to face all these challenges and to solve them. You know, those who survive, I don't, I'm not sure you can even call them entrepreneurs. It's like some special forces. And this also changes the consciousness of people, because business is getting its voice. You know, business starts to understand that we must lead the political change also. It cannot like just continue as usual, because we will just not survive. You know, we need to change the political system. It needs to be agile, it needs to be digital, it needs to be fast, and it's need to be honest and oriented to think about the country. So these are the changes which are happening every day. And I can tell you that the scale of this change is very profound. You cannot just, whatever happens, you cannot just continue, let's say, come back to the country which was here a year ago. You know, it is already impossible. People changed, the country changed, and I think that with the international support and integration, this internal change can really create the spot of growth in Ukraine, and to make it the global spot of growth and the new growth, let's say, destination in Europe. And our task is to secure fast victory, decisive victory, with as little casualties and suffering of people as possible. For this, of course, we need strong international support, more arms, and of course, systematic, let's say, investment support and support of the economy, because it is what is needed, you know, to keep this country developing and to give to people what they deserve with their brave and a really heroic fight. So I thank you for the invitation. And first of all, I thank Lithuanians for your great support, and all the Baltic countries and the Europe and the international community. So if you have any questions, welcome.
Thank you so much, Volodymyr. It was very inspiring to hear you and also understand how you're tackling all the challenges that are happening. The question for you would be, how do you suggest young entrepreneurs adapt to these challenges? And what would be your advice for those young startups starting out ideas in Ukraine?
Okay, not a very good sound. As I understand, your question was, what would be your advice to your residents and to the participants of your program?
Exactly. How can, for example, entrepreneurs in Ukraine adapt to these difficult conditions and thrive like you did?
Yeah. Okay. My advice would be to build really the enterprise of the future right from the beginning, which is first international. It's not dependent on any specific local market. You need to, and this is how most of the businesses in Ukraine survived. They diversified, they opened new markets, they moved to European markets, to like global sales. So for this, you would need digital tools, and you have them. We have a totally new set of tools coming to the market, which is just amazing to see. I mentioned GPT-3. I have like dedicated lectures because it is what I use to support my business, because a very important part of my business is analytical research to develop new technological products. So they are just amazing. The things we were expecting for years, they are arriving now. They are arriving very powerfully. So you really need to understand these tools, because being a startup and not using this new breed of digital tools and artificial intelligence, I don't know, it simply won't work, because other people will use them. But if you do use them, you have a huge advantage, because you can build a totally new company with new set of processes. You're not limited to any legacy experience and processes, and you can grow much faster and attack even big incumbents. So this would be my advice. You have a lot of opportunities, and also the good thing is you have international support, so use this support. We use it also, and develop international cooperation and be successful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vladimir. Great. So hope all the participants here and those who are tuning in online are really getting inspiration and ideas and insights from all these wonderful speakers and are ready to scale their ideas into businesses and then further. So my point to you, Futurepreneurs for Ukraine participants, today is the day when the program starts. Today is the day when your journey with us starts, and we all wish you great success. And for all the people who tuned in to the launch event, thank you so much. It was wonderful to have you. Please engage with us, with our partners, and please support Ukraine. Ačiū visiems, dėkui всем, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.